Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Kristen, Baldwin, TV critic at Entertainment Weekly. Before we are joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA performer and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guests, actors William Zabka and Ralph Macchio, who star as Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, respectively, on Netflix's Emmy-nominated comedy series, Cobra Kai. Welcome to you both.
Great to see you, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
So first of all, can we please take a moment to appreciate that Cobra Kai has 4 Emmy nominations, including Outstanding Comedy Series. Congratulations. Tell me about what was your reaction to this news on nominations day and how did you celebrate? Ralph, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you. We're just thrilled. I mean, it's really, everyone talks about the Netflix effect, and now that the show has blown up with season 3, 1 and 2, and season 3 solely on Netflix was just such a big swell of just a massive embrace around the world. And we're just, every day we just turn, it's just amazing, this journey, how it's come to be. Emmy nomination day was, it was Christmas morning. I didn't, I wasn't like, I didn't wake up saying, oh, it's Emmy nomination day or whatever that song is from Frozen or whatever. But I was, I was by myself at home and I knew what time it was. And I was like, 11 o'clock. All right. Do we have let's see what happens. And I was all alone and I took my phone and I just, recorded the best comedy series, like like what are the odds? And it popped up and I was just trying to hold it steady, and then I had nowhere to go. And I just created a little video and texted Billy and our 3 creators, John, Josh, and Hayden. And, we just sent that little piece and then my family and then, the reps and people that you work with, and just this great feeling for everyone, top to bottom, cast, crew, who made this show and makes this show. And it is a very lean show, meaning budget wise for what we put on the screen. And it takes a lot of work. You always hear this from everyone. It's always hard work. It's the best cast, the best crew, but ours is the best cast and the best crew. And so it's just wonderful for that validation from the industry and from our peers, and to be put on that echelon, So it really is very rewarding, and I'm humbled by it and just proud to be here with Billy and having this conversation.
And Billy, how about you? How did you celebrate?
How did I celebrate? Well, I did get the text from my phone blew up in the morning. I wasn't watching it, but I did get a series of text messages and kind of glanced over some congratulations, but I didn't know what it was. And then Ralph sent a text with the actual clip of it. And it was perfect to get it from him. And I'm like, what? I was still in bed, really. I just jumped up. I went and texted him back and texted the creators. And it was such a great feeling. What a validation of everything. Perfect nominate. I mean, to be nominated as a best comedy series, it wraps its arms around everybody. And then we have our sound department that got nominated and our stunts. And it just feels great. It was a great fun day. And from where we started this back, a few years back to that morning, it's great. It felt great.
So, Cobra Kai is incredibly funny, and obviously it's a nominated comedy, but there's also like a lot of drama in the storyline. So I guess, how would you guys define the type of comedy that we see on Cobra Kai, and how do you balance it with the comedic moments in each episode? Ralph, do you want to start?
Yeah, it's interesting. You hear that a lot. A comedy, it's a drama. It has dramatic moments and funny moments, and each season has been, some more comedic than others. But, it's interesting. The landscape has changed, right? I mean, you're a comedy category if you're a half hour, if you're under a full hour, and you look at The Flight Attendant and shows like that, you can make put that same question mark, But there's so much humor woven into the show, certainly coming in from Johnny Lawrence's eyes, and a guy who's sort of like trapped in the 80s in his mindset, which is innocently, it is taken in such an innocent fashion that it becomes comedy. And the same thing with, say, on LaRusso's side, and how he has to navigate this, his foe coming into his life and knocking everything out of balance. And it's kind of, there's comedy woven into all of that. The fact that there is rich drama, heart, lessons, themes, important themes in life, and that work on the human side, is what adds depth to it. So comedy doesn't always have to be, "Hi, honey, I'm home," and the crazy neighbor and the kooky, teacher. And there's that as well. There's room for all of it. So I think in our case, we could go from soap opera to comedy to action show to goosebumps and, and tears welling in our eyes. So we're proud of all of that.
And how about you, William?
Yeah, well, comedy is, defined sometimes as tragedy plus time.
Right.
So the whole show is based, it's almost, the whole premise in a sense is, it's so absurd. It's just these two grown-ups that can't get over their high school rivalry. Just that alone, it's tragedy plus time is comedy. It's funny. And then you play the drama in that, you play it seriously, and how, with heart, and it somehow is even funnier. There's just humor in it. But yeah, like Ralph said, it touches on so many things. It's, it's action, it's drama, it's heartfelt. And then there's some, the writers are comic writers. They come from that. So they know how to weave that in and just make things that are, semi absurd and funny. And it's not, it's not a sitcom. It's not a ha-ha laugh comedy. But it's, I don't know, I'm tickled by just the premise of it. Ralph and I are many times on the set looking at each other going, how is this happening, man? Like, how are you keeping this ball in the air? It's because it's grounded in truth and written so well, and it's funny and played with heart. And so I think it's a perfect place for it. But comedy has changed. We're in a different time now as far as what's considered funny, what's a comedy. And I think it falls right in that sweet spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when season 3 starts, both Johnny and Daniel are kind of at rock bottom emotionally. And they, the season follows them as they fight their way back. So I'd love to hear you guys talk a little bit about why that arc was important for this season, in terms of where the story is going to go. William, do you want to start?
Sure. As far as they're both licking. I mean, end of season 2 is a train wreck for everybody. Everybody is devastated. It's reading that, even just reading that was like, good gracious, here we go. So they start season 3, broken. And especially speaking for Johnny, he feels completely responsible for this whole thing. And, his son injured his beloved student, and now, his student's in the hospital. So, but it's a great long arc of Daniel and Johnny from really the first episode. It's a long arc to get to episode 10 here when we bow. So all of that and all the levels in there. Ralph and I have such a great time doing these driving scenes and going to the rehab center and the fight in the in the chop shop, all that stuff. It's a slow burn to get these guys to the next page, which is the end of season 3, which sets up season 4. So, and to know that both of our characters, these great arcs that kind of met, in the middle. He goes off to Okinawa and has this, this new renewal and download from Miyagi Land, and brings that back and puts that into effect into end of the season. And it's just a great setup for the next. So all that's great. I mean, it's so great as an actor to get to play something where it's got this long arc and slow burn. You can really commit to each one of those scenes and things along the way, because you know where you're going to land. And now here we are in season 4, and get ready for that one.
I love us. You mentioned obviously that Daniel goes to Okinawa, and I love that part of this for him and for Johnny is reconnecting with their past. And Ralph, obviously you get to reconnect. Daniel reconnects with Kumiko, played by Tamlin Tomita, and Chosen, played by Yuji Okamoto. Can you talk about why this was necessary for Daniel, and what was it like working with your old co-stars again?
It was a big highlight for me for season 3. I think that it was important for the evolution of LaRusso going forward, and to mine more depth into his character and sort of go back to the origins of what Miyagi-Do was, or what he thinks Miyagi-Do was, and get educated beyond, with Miyagi no longer here, how can we, and it's just beautifully written by John, Josh, and Hayden and the staff, how can we inform Daniel LaRusso from beyond a lesson he could learn from Miyagi? And through Kumiko, so beautifully done in the scene where she's reading those letters. And on top of that, you have the interaction with Chosen, his most feared foe, who turns out to be a redemptive character and shows LaRusso the way, or where he sees the light, that maybe not every rivalry needs to be this way, and maybe there is light at the end of this tunnel, and takes that back with him. Not only the Miyagi secrets and the martial arts element and the origins, but also the human side of evolution in a relationship and growth. And, the guys do such a great job with layering that stuff in these stories and letting them breathe organically. So like Billy says, we arc out in those 10 episodes of season 3, where they both need to take responsibility for the train wreck, and then dust off and somehow continue falling forward. And I think that's part of what is working. And as far as Tamlin and Yuji, it's just, they're such wonderful actors, and to sort of open up that side, that culture, dive deeper into the Japanese American or Okinawan culture and martial arts, and just like we did with Kreese's character, diving into the origins of Cobra Kai and flashbacks to Vietnam. It really was a very big season that mined a lot of depth and informed stories going forward. So I'm really proud of all of that stuff on all those levels.
And, with William, Johnny obviously ends up reconnecting with Allie Mills, his high school sweetheart, played by Elizabeth Shue, of course. And it's really key for Johnny in terms of helping him move forward in his life. Can you talk a little bit about bringing that arc to the screen with your former big screen girlfriend?
Sure. Yeah. Allie coming back into Johnny's life was like Johnny going back to when he was 18. It was the heartbreak, the part of his heart that was floating around out there, a source of a lot of his pain. He can't move forward in his relationships with love. He's got Carmen, but he's tentative, not sure. And Allie comes back, and it's that kind of high school refreshing first love thing where she got to rejuvenate Johnny and settle some things, and it was a lot of fun. And then of course at the end, when we're at the Christmas party, and they come together, and she points out the similarities between Daniel and Johnny, and they have a closure, and she sets him free, Johnny free, to go find his love. At that moment, they almost kiss. It's almost back to that point, interrupted by life. Her phone rings, it's her kids, and then interrupted again, and she realizes that he has a heart for somebody else, and she sets him free. And I got to tell you how much fun that was to play the guy that was the 80s asshole for 35 years, to get to be the guy that Elizabeth Shue says, go find your love. And I get to run down a stairway in a white suit, go tells another beautiful girl that I love her. I'm like, come on, how is this happening? I even said that to John Horowitz. I go, you realize that the odds of this happening in my life and my career, to play this guy with the 80s music journey playing underneath, it's a complete thrill and awesome. And so Allie and Elizabeth Shue were huge, major parts of reinvigorating the character and giving him, healing him and setting him forward onto a new path. And she's in the show, and she's in the universe. So, she's around.
I love, obviously it was a huge moment for fans. Everybody's been wanting this since day one. So, when is Allie going to show up? And, it's interesting because Allie's arc on the show is really important to the story, but it's also crucially important to the fans. So as performers, how do you manage that pressure of like knowing that this is something fans have been waiting for now for, however many seasons, and you have to get it right, not just for them, but for the story? Is there that pressure, and how do you manage it? Ralph, what would you say?
It's playing the honesty. That's what that's what I did back in 1983, and that's what we did in 2019 or whenever we shot that. So it was the end of that year, right? It was Christmas time. So I think yes, with any of these or the OG casts that come back, especially Lisa Elizabeth Shue's entrance was so. You're waiting for it to happen. And so there's that initial like, wow, hey, look what we're doing. This is nuts. Who would think we'd ever be, so we had that. And then as soon as you read the words and look in the eyes, there's a kindred spirit. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. There's something unique that even Billy and I, the first time we stood across from each other, you share something special that you each come at from a different angle, but there's a common thread. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to explain. It's almost otherworldly in a way because our lives have been touched by this entity, this Karate Kid movie that we've walked with for 34 years at whatever point it was. So then it's just about being honest to the moments and listen, and the script. The guys write great, text and words for us and scenarios to play, but it's really just playing the honesty of that across from each other. And I think it's not calculated. It's just, that's how I approached it. And seemingly that's Lisa and Billy always, chooses that direction. I think that's why there's truth amid sometimes this insane, ridiculous soap opera that you hold on to it because you care. We care, and then you care.
And William, was it hard keeping it a secret that she was making an appearance? Because obviously it was the first question basically every fan had from season one.
Yeah, every interview, is she coming back? How do you answer that? You have to skirt all of it. I mean, you can't give any spoilers of any kind, but the good thing is the guys, the creators, have said there's the canon of the Karate Kid. Anybody in the Miyagi-verse, anybody who Miyagi's come in contact with is game to be on the show. The fans were expecting and hoping and rooting for her. The guys teased her from the very first season, and being a major part. So for her to come back, and I agree completely with everything Ralph just said about that, but we had, I think, going with Lisa, I think Ralph and I felt that way when we first started the season, a little bit like, oh gosh, there's this, the guy, they're looking, is this going to work? But like Ralph said, when we did it and locked in, there's just this something, everything goes away, and it's just chemistry really at the end, and so when Lisa came back, we had the advantage of knowing this works. It's going to be different. We're not going to be the same. We're not Johnny in 1984 and Daniel in 84, but this works. So we had confidence in her and the writing, and then it's just like a kindred familiar spirit, and somebody that it was very much in a way art imitating life, because we had gone our different ways. We had life in between that. All of us have had families and kids. And so, it was very, very real and very easy to kind of plug into that. And then it was awesome. So, great.
And the relationship between Johnny and Daniel, even in season one, when they were at their, at each other's throats, it's always been so much fun in that they have this really funny buddy comedy chemistry together, but then they always end up butting heads. And I'd love to hear you guys talk a little bit about creating that on-screen dynamic, especially since it's so different from what is in the movie, but it's so natural in Cobra Kai. Ralph, what would you say? What was the key to making that happen?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of that is Ralph and Billy and us knowing each other, behind the scenes, and how we, over time, by doing, say, panels at a Comic-Con or a screening of the movie and a talk back after, we see how the world sees these two guys from that movie. And then we play off of that as friends, as actors and as friends. And sort of we it seems like we've been informed over the decades about how to approach it. It's not super, I'm not laying it out on paper and trying to figure it out. It really just, it's like I mentioned in the earlier question, the earlier answer to your question, the first time we stood across from each other, and still one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, where I come into the dojo in the second episode of season 1 and say you've beat up a couple of kids I've heard, and who are what are you doing here, and get out. All this stuff was just, there was so much percolating underneath it that we knew how to just play all those beats, the dramatic beats, but also the humor underneath the Johnny Lawrence smirk that we love and that we get to see again, and it just brings you right back, but yet pushes you forward. We're, I guess, a little blessed that we have that gift that, that's given to us. Mm-hmm. And we're not messing it up yet.
Yeah. William, would you add anything to that?
You nailed it. That's it. I mean, off camera, when we got to Atlanta for season 1, we were driving around town trying to figure everything out, and we had so many laughs just driving in the back streets, getting lost, looking at GPS. Go this way, no, go that way. It's like, no, why are you taking us out of this tunnel? Like a lot of that, it's really true. It's Billy and Ralph. A lot of that is really Billy and Ralph, and we do know from over the times of doing public things and seeing how we love to rib each other. We do panels. He'll say, "So I'll take a dig." We it's a lot of fun. We play into it. We enjoy that. Yeah. And now it's being written for us and put in the context of a great story, and so that's theirs as well. So, but we're definitely not conscious of it. We're not like, okay, here's the thread. We gotta do this and that. It's like, we get to just do it. We just get to go do it. And yeah.
Speaking of driving, I could watch an entire episode of Johnny and Daniel just driving somewhere together. And I need to know who breaks the most in those scenes, because I can't imagine that you can get through them without breaking a little bit.
Billy's funnier than I am. And I think I'm pretty funny. But so he makes me but by virtue of some of the action written, because I'm the Alan Arkin to his Peter Falk or
Walter Matthau.
Walter Matthau. Yeah, right. Exactly. So I have to be what are you doing? You're messing up. No, don't do that. And he gets to, needle LaRusso. And then Billy's his comedic instincts, he'll go further with stuff and just crack me up. But I think we make each other laugh.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, the show also received an Emmy nomination for stunt performance, which is great. You guys obviously have some big fight scenes, a little bit with each other, but mostly with other people this season. How do you, in general, prepare for a season when you're going in? How do you get ready for these fight scenes?
Go ahead, Billy.
Well, that's yeah, sure. Well, going in, we have training before, we try to train as much as we can outside of the show before we get there. Have a karate trainer work out. So you're getting limber, getting ready to go, stretching out, getting ready to go. And then, these fight scenes they're not luxurious. I'll tell you that. They don't give you don't go there and A to Z have a lot of time to put these together. They're put together very fast. We see them. Sometimes we're learning them on the day. Sometimes we're learning as we go along, and adjusting. So we have a stunt guy off to the right if we need him, but we need to and try to do it as much as we can ourselves, because otherwise the fighting turns into something you'd see in a video game, and it's just these perfect, pristine martial artists. And what we're doing is character. It's like, it's a martial art. It's like dance. It's an expression. So we try to do it ourselves. Now, the scene we had in the apartment with that fight scene in the apartment, we had some time with that. But that was even bigger. It was even, it was a much bigger fight. We got there on the day and we just had to carve stuff. It's very physical. It's very, in between shooting our long hour days, at least 12 hours minimum, usually, and then we're jumping from episode to episode. And like Ralph says, it's like vaudeville. Sometimes we're going in, and I go in one door, come out with a mustache, go out the other, come out with a beard, come out the other with red bloody eyes, come out over here, I'm in a white suit. I mean, it's that fast,
times.
And you're trying to like stay oriented. And then they go, okay, on your break, they pull you into this room and say, now here's, go fight, go learn this. And, and you're eating a sandwich on the side. It's vigorous, but it's fun. So how do you prepare? It's just, you got to eat good, got to get some sleep, and try to just keep your body healthy, stay in tune with it, and go, hey, listen, I pulled something, or I'm about to pull something. It's a challenge. It's not easy. It's not like Karate Kid where we had 3 months of 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and here's one kick you're learning. So it's great. So Ralph, that's that. And the kids are taking over and they're doing incredible.
Thanks.
So Ralph and I get to kind of sit back a little bit and cheer them on.
We love kids, sitting by the camera and getting our bag of popcorn and just watching these kids pound the hell out of each other. They're incredible. They're incredible. And the thing is, a lot of stretching. That's how you prepare. I mean, I was doing some training this morning, and a lot of it is stretching in between. It's just as you get older, you just have to. You're not as pliable. They don't bounce back. But the other thing Billy and I talk about is, this is how we move at this age, and we want to look like how we want to be as fit and as authentic as martial artists as we can be, and we work really hard toward that. But it's also, we want to do as much as we can, and this is how we look at 35 years past when we were able to do everything a lot easier. And I think that's important because sometimes you see these things and they're just cut together with a bunch of stunt guys, and everybody looks like a ninja and flying through the air, and it becomes a superhero cartoon. Even though we have elements of that in our show.
Right.
So both of you do have a pretty good knockdown drag out fight with John Kreese in the finale, played by Martin Kove. He's so great at being a villain. What's it been like working with him over these few seasons? How about you, William?
It's been great. I love season 2. I love some of the stuff. Listen, when he goes into his home where he's staying, and he's he has lied to Johnny about where he is and how he is. I love working with Marty. It's just he's a teddy bear, and he's a lot of fun, and it's right there. It's just like it was with me and Ralph and Lisa. He's a teddy bear. He really is off screen, but he's got a lot of John Kreese in him. I mean, he really, he's got a lot of Kreese in him. So it's been great working with Marty. It's I love him as a person. He's a dear friend, and it's great. We turn the light switch on, and he becomes Kreese, and I become Johnny. The same with Daniel and Johnny and everybody. Something else happens. We just go into an alternate universe in a way, and go and live there, and then pop back out, and it's great. So Marty's amazing. I love working with him and fighting with him. Although he's a little slow on the moves. Here's one real quick thing. We had one fight, and he just moved a little slower than I did on my advance, and my toe jammed into his big old monster foot and completely jammed. And nobody knew it. My stunt guys over there ready to take over if I didn't finish the fight, and I'm limping over, and I literally pulled my toe out, and I'm like, okay, I got to go a little slower on Marty. But he's great. He's very eager. He's very determined. He wants to do his best. He's really serious about fighting. He really wants to do the karate. And he's a little older than us, and he's in there working hard. He's in the gym every day. Yeah, he works hard. So
he really does. He takes and he snaps it, into his character. It is really like, a light switch. He just turns it right on and off.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He's just got it. And but he does he puts in a tremendous amount of time and work on the physical aspect, because he wants to, like we all do, you want to deliver. And sometimes the brain is working quicker than the body, and vice versa. Believe me, I'm adjusting to that myself these days. And so, but he's just such a joy, and it's just so rewarding for all of us. But even to see it for others, it's equally, if not more rewarding, to see Marty and his John Kreese have this, where I was just, there's a whole new generation discovering these areas. I was just at an event the other day, and this little kid walks up to me, and he's like, 9 years old. He was there with his brother and sister, and they would kind of look, and he comes up and he goes, excuse me. He was very respectful, well-groomed kid. And he just goes, do you play the dad on that cool show, Cobra Kai?
The dad.
And I say, yes, I play the dad on that cool show, Cobra Kai. He goes, what's your name? I said, my name's Ralph. He goes, oh yeah, Ralph Macchio. He goes, nice to meet you, Ralph Macchio. I walked away. It was just such an interesting arc.
Yeah.
I was the dad on their cool show that they watch these teen stories. And, so it's wonderful.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, when John, Josh, and Hayden first came to you a few years ago, both of you with this idea, I'm sure it's certainly not the first time you had been pitched Karate Kid ideas or, you know, sort of sequel or things like that. And I'd be interested to hear, what was it about their pitch specifically that felt right to you? William, what would you? Oh, go ahead, Ralph.
No, sorry, I'm just jumping. It's coming. I'm almost handing this off. It's coming. Yeah. It's coming in from the angle of Johnny Lawrence's perspective, and the film Creed had just come out, which came into the world from Apollo Creed's son's eyes into the Rocky universe. So there was that seemed fresh and unique. And then it is the passion of John, Josh, and Hayden, and they were just the three biggest fans. And we had an instinct that they wanted to tell the stories the fans wanted to see. That's what makes the difference from the other 30 ideas that were just short, one note, one off, some stupid, horrible ideas. Good ones, but this was smart. Yeah. Go ahead, Billy. Sorry.
Yeah, they came at it. I mean, I worked with Josh on Hot Tub Time Machine. I knew the guys beforehand, John and Hayden. So when they emailed, they had an idea for a show. I had no idea what it was, and they dropped Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai and had the rights to it all. First of all, they had Sony signed off and everybody so it could happen. I never dreamed that I could replay Johnny Lawrence. I dreamed I could do some spoof of the character or something in that thing. So they just came at it right. And I stepped in, and I know Ralph did too. We stepped in it just tentatively and like toe by toe, like, okay, I kind of understand your vision. Right. I trust you with the character. I trust you with your heart for the Karate Kid. Now it's, but the question was, what's the tone? Is this going to be rated, or what's the rating here? Are we going, Harold and Kumar? Are we going,
right?
So so it was the guys. I would have to say it was the guys. It was three other guys that came in. I didn't know who they were. I mean, it might have been different. It was just, I was wide open to, I felt something was down the road for the three of us anyway. And it just felt like the right thing. And I'm understanding the show better now, having been through it. Cause I understood my part. I understood the mechanics of that. And I understood the characters I was familiar with, but there's a whole new universe of characters that they were pregnant with, and they were going to take down the road. Now I'm watching it. And so it's being, everything they pitched that I didn't get, I get now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's true. It's a hard thing. And they're quite collaborative too. And there's still, I was going to say battle isn't the word. We still, there's push and pull in certain areas. Certainly was for me more in season 1 and 2, as I was trying to define and dive deeper once the series got further up in the air. And, but still, I mean, even script to script, I'll see something and, whether it's dialogue or a story point, not big stuff, but stuff that's still important to make sure it is massaged in a way that everyone's growing forward.
Right. And finally, production on season 4 wrapped, I believe, in May. So I know you guys can't give any spoilers, but what can you tease for Johnny and Daniel now that we know they're going to attempt to work together to take Kreese down?
Not everything is as seemed. To quote the late great Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, we love to see these guys work together and succeed because we're all rooting for them. We see it clearer than they do. And then we also enjoy watching them when they're at each other's, throats or, it's the up and down, navigating a big story. The show is big now. We have such a big cast, and they're all interesting and compelling characters. So you may get to where you think you're going, but it may not be on the path that you thought. And I think that's a big part of what's happening in season 4. It's some great surprises and kick-ass action.
Yep.
William, any more beefcake photos in season 4?
No, I've exhausted those for now. I have a couple more if they need them. But yeah, no more beefcake photos for this one. I'm taking some new shots that I'm hoping we'll get into the shows. going to the beach, doing some photo shoots, some oil on my shoulders.
Excellent. Well, it has been so wonderful talking with you both again. And on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, process, and craft with your fellow performers. Good luck at the Emmys and have a great day, you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Kristen. Always appreciate it.
Yep.